I woke up with a tightness in my chest and an IV in my arm. The room was bright, white, and cold. The last thing I remembered was Thomas kissing my forehead as the anesthesia kicked in. He said he'd be there when I woke up. He lied. The nurse smiled when she saw me stir. "You're awake," she said gently, like the world was still okay. I blinked, my throat dry and raw. Where's my husband?" She paused. "Too long, too still. He left a note for you," she said. That's when everything began to unravel. "Let me take you back. My name is Jasmine, 32 years old, married to Thomas Brennan, 36. We met in college, married young, and had weathered over a decade of life together. No kids, just careers, travel, quiet routines, and shared dreams. But life isn't always a smooth timeline. Sometimes it collapses in the middle of a heartbeat. The surgery wasn't even supposed to be serious. A minor procedure to remove ovarian cysts. I was scared, sure, but Thomas was supportive, or so I thought. He held my hand the night before and said, "Whatever happens, I'm here." Those were his exact words. I remember them so clearly now because of what came next. Back in the hospital bed, the nurse handed me a sealed envelope. No flowers, no visit, just paper. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a typed letter, and attached to it, divorce papers, filed, signed, dated 3 days before my surgery. "Jasmine, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I know this is cruel. I know you hate me, but I couldn't keep pretending. I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a long time." I read it over and over, expecting it to say something else, anything else. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I couldn't move. I couldn't even cry. I was discharged 2 days later, alone. My sister Mara flew in from Seattle to help me recover. She sat in the living room reading the letter with her jaw clenched tight. "This is psychotic," she whispered. "He didn't even wait until you healed." "I don't understand," I kept saying. I repeated it like a prayer. I needed to understand why a man I shared 10 years with walked away when I was most vulnerable. I tried calling him. No response. I tried texting. "I deserve to hear it from your mouth, not a note. You promised you'd be there. How could you do this to me?" Read. No reply. Then he blocked me. I found out about her 1 week later. Her name was Elena, 29, fitness instructor. I saw a photo on his public Facebook page. He must have forgotten to change the privacy settings. They were in Cancun, 2 weeks after my surgery. She was wearing my favorite beach hat, the one I lost last summer and swore had disappeared. He hadn't thrown it away. He took it with her. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. Mara stayed up with me at night, brushing my hair like we were kids again, telling me it was okay to cry. But I couldn't cry. I was too hollow, too broken. 2 months passed. I was healing physically, but emotionally I was unraveling. Then one evening, while scrolling Instagram, I saw Elena's story. She was laughing, sipping wine, and someone off camera whispered, "I love you, baby." It was his voice. Thomas. My husband, calling someone else baby. I lost it. I threw my phone across the room, smashed a picture frame against the wall, and collapsed to the floor in sobs. Not because he moved on, but because he did it without giving me a chance to even fight for us. I was discarded, silently, cruelly. 3 weeks later, I got a call. Not from Thomas. From his mother. "Jasmine," she said gently, "I just found out what happened. I don't know what's wrong with him. I'm so sorry." I broke down. Right there on the kitchen floor. She came to visit the next day, held my hand like I was her daughter, not her discarded daughter-in-law. And she told me what Thomas wouldn't. He met her at the gym. It was fast. He says it just happened. But Jasmine, it didn't just happen. He planned this. She was right! A few days later, a lawyer reached out to finalize the divorce. Thomas still didn't reach out himself. He left the final blow to legal documents again. But this time, I signed. I signed them in silence, and I sent them back with a note of my own. "You broke me in a hospital bed, but I'm walking away on my own 2 feet." It took time, a lot of it. I had to relearn who I was outside of him. I started painting again, took long walks alone. Eventually, I opened my own art gallery. It was small, just a studio really, but it was mine. And that's when I met someone new. Not a romantic partner, a little girl named Lena, 8 years old, who visited my gallery every week with her single mom. She told me one day, "Your paintings make me feel warm even when it's raining." And that's when I realized I survived! I ran into Thomas once, nearly a year later, at a coffee shop. He looked ordinary, not like a man in love, not like a man living his best life, just empty. He said hello. I nodded. He asked how I was. I smiled and said, "I'm better now." He nodded slowly, and for a second I saw regret. But regret doesn't fix the past. Here's what I learned. Some people will leave you at your lowest because they were never meant to be part of your rise. I thought surgery was the hardest part of my year, but it wasn't. It was waking up and realizing the man I loved didn't love me anymore. But I also woke up to a truth I hadn't seen before. I didn't need him to survive. So if you're going through a heartbreak that hit you when you were already down, hear me. Your strength doesn't lie in who stays. It lies in who you become after they leave. And sometimes the best recovery is walking away without looking back.